Hey guys, Matt McKeever here, and so we're just doing our Q2 update, and I'm here with
Jeff Wybo.
And so if you'll remember, we just did one near the start of March, which was our Q1 update, and just to kind of refresh you guys' memories, I'll throw up a couple of clips from that one.
2017, my real estate investing strategy is completely different than what it was at the end of 2016. It is really important when you're saying there's no like critical error. Whoever's watching this right now, you haven't fucked up so much that you can't turn things around. And so it's just really a matter of taking responsibility.
You don't have to yell as much.
Yeah.
Preach as much because everybody else is preaching for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Is anyone else drinking this tonight? No? No? You guys are drinking Pat's Blue Ribbon? Oh,
I got much loves at least.
But the gist of it is that we were talking about how the market was getting insane in London, Ontario. And yeah, so anyways, before we start really talking about how the market's evolved since March, we might as well jump into the Altmore. And so the reason we're drinking Altmore, McAllen, you had your shot.
Didn't sponsor us, so.
We gave you the chance in our Q1 update, gave you a shout out. So maybe Altmore will, with the Speyside single malt Scotch whiskey, you'll hit us up. Again, we're probably not the social influencers you want, but we're the social influencers you got.
All right.
So Jeff, if you'll do that.
Right. Yeah, we might have to edit.
Do you remember what the scotch was that we had at the real estate investors conference? I can't remember. But in Toronto? Yeah. At the hotel. Yeah, the hotel. It wasn't going. No, because remember it was like something you never had either. And yeah, we finished that bottle pretty quick. That didn't take long. Yeah. And Kellen was talking about how it was his favorite scotch, and yeah. Probably Kellen's.
I don't know, it's Kellen, do you drink scotch? But
yeah.
All right, so second quarter.
Q2.
All right.
What are your thoughts?
Burning.
Yeah, it's a little harsher than I thought it would be.
It's gonna be an interesting video now.
It wasn't cheap. Sons of bitches. So yeah, so anyways, let's just get into it and talk about the market in general. So reminder again, it was beginning of March when we released our most recent Q1 update video. We were talking about how the market was getting really insane. I spent a lot of that video complaining about losing multiple offers. So what's changed since Q1, Jeff?
Well, the first part of Q2 was also insane.
Yeah.
I think at least the first 60 days of that was nuts. So that would bring us to the end of June, where a lot of you guys as investors had a lot of problems as well because there were no deals out there. You had a lot of the guys, you guys started looking, knocking on doors, doing all your homework behind the scenes, finding landlords that were selling because the MLS was still too hot. All those realtors made all that money selling properties.
Yeah.
But investors, really hard to find deals out there. So the end of Q1 into the beginning of Q2 was just as crazy. We kind of talk about this on other videos, but we got the spring, we got the Toronto people coming down the highway. We saw that ripple effect coming down the 401, and arguably at the end of Q2 now, and I'm sure we're going to get into it, it's starting to slow down a bit. So.
Yeah, and so since our last Q1 update, we actually started doing weekly updates just on what was going on in the London market. I think that to me was a really great approach to creating content because it kind of forced us to really stay on top and really focus on the numbers and facts rather than just getting caught up in emotion.
So if you're not following weekly Monday updates, Matt, Dylan, and I, anyone's welcome. It's not just us. So hit Matt up on the channel. If you're available, let us know. You come to the update. We're just going over the core of the city, seeing what's been buying, what's sold, and giving us some good knowledge of what's going on. So
yeah, we're just really trying to force ourselves to step up our game, really become experts in the market, and really rely on data and facts rather than intuition and emotion.
Because how many of you have heard just your parents, your friends, just, hey, the real estate market's hot right now, right? And some people I'm socially are still saying that with probably no data to back it.
Yeah.
And then even when it was hot, they saw something on the CBC or was talking to the Canadian housing market or some Toronto facts. So yeah, it's important to reach out to us or anybody you trust in this area who's studying this to find out what's really going on. And that's been great in Q2, the Monday morning meetings, just going over facts, no data, no stats like on CBC. Like the national stats don't help us, right? So
yeah. And so in addition to that, in Q2, like I definitely kept losing tons of bidding wars, and it really got to the point where we were often not even putting a bid in because we knew that we weren't going to really have a real chance of competing. That's slowly starting to shift again, but so I definitely in Q2 spent a lot more time focused on outreach to private sellers, trying to find those private deals, trying to really build up the network and get a real feel for how to create a bigger funnel of private deals, just because you can't rely on realtor.ca or the MLS anymore. It's just, it's way too competitive. And even with the market cooling down, like we've kind of hinted at already, and which we recently just talked about in last week's MLS meetup, where for the first time since April actually, in our target areas, properties have sold for below asking. Again, it was only 0.75%, so not a huge shift, but it's definitely telling, and it definitely seems to be representative of what we expect to see continue throughout the summer. And yeah, so private deals were a huge thing. During Q2 was actually pretty quiet for me as far as acquiring properties. It was pretty frustrating. With Jeff, we managed to get one deal under contract, and that was a pretty interesting deal. I think that's probably worth jumping into. So as I'd mentioned, part of my process was really trying to find private deals. And so the funny thing was, I just right before shooting this video rewatched the Q1 update, and I was talking about how I'd met this private seller who had 5 to 6 properties, and it seemed like I was going to be able to work out a deal with him and be able to buy his whole portfolio. Well, in Q2, I continued to try and work with the seller, and then the dude just ghosted me. Just completely, didn't hear from him at all. I got in contact with his property manager. That's also a great way if a private seller ghosts you, if you know the property manager, try and get yourself in that way. Just, you need to get in front of them. You need to contact them whatever way possible in order to get in front of the deal. And so essentially, the property manager hadn't heard from her boss for like months. And so it was getting really frustrating, but I'd made friends with her, and just being a good person, right? And anyways, fast forward, I get like a call from her out of the blue that's just like, hey Matt, we just lost one of the properties to foreclosure. It's that 6-plex you really wanted. And I was just like, you got to be kidding me. Like,
I think you called me in like...
It's like almost a panic, right?
Yeah.
Like, because I'd already spent so much work and time on it. And so just to kind of give you the high level numbers here, it's a 6-plex in Soho. I'd offered the seller $265 as a private deal. And then fast forward, I find out it's being listed. And like, I called Jeff in a panic because this market's too hot. I didn't want to compete.
You said, FYI, or like, listen up. This property is going to be on the market. I need you to tell me the moment it hits. So, yeah. And then, thankfully, well, I saw it within the day, and it had the typical condition, or not typical, but like no showings until X amount of date. Well, thankfully, we already had been in the property, so but there was no, you can't offer before this date. It just said no showings before this date.
Yeah.
So we thought,
and very careful to pay attention to that verbiage. That makes a huge difference. So
Matt called me up and we wanted to put that offer in, and so I called that realtor. He's like, okay, well, it's the weekend. He's got to talk to the banks and all that. So I think by Monday, well, he had it on the weekend, but he didn't get to do anything till Monday afternoon. But then what happened? He waited Monday, he waited Tuesday, and then all of a sudden, we're in multiple offers somehow, right? And we were clean. Your offer was...
Yeah, it was legit. They were asking $250, and so remember, originally I'd offered $265 without a realtor. They were now asking $250 with it on MLS or on the realtor.ca website. And so we went clean $250, like, boom, let's get this done.
Yeah.
And then this multiple offer situation comes up. They obviously bid more than what we'd bid, but they were conditional on, I don't remember, but we didn't know,
but I think it was a conditional on a walkthrough or whatever.
Because we kind of forced their hand by being like, boom.
This one we had 97% pocket listing.
That was super cool, yeah.
The only schmuck that had a MLS listing, I threw in one of my own, so. The beauty of hosting the tour. And then other bonuses, people have been reaching out who've noticed the tour, So even realtors, other investors can't wait to get on the next tour. So like people are now lining up. Matt and I are wondering what to do next. We're gonna do one. So calling it out right now. We were gonna do one late July, but everybody's so busy in the summer.
Yeah. And July just kind of snuck up on us.
If Mike McCracken's watching, like, I gotta wear a suit, so it's hot in July. So we're gonna do a late August because the agency, my brokerage, we are moving downtown London, Ontario, Wellington near Queen's Ave. It's official, released this week. So we're gonna have quite the cool brokerage, which is gonna be a wicked awesome start point for the limo tour.
Absolutely.
And it's gonna provide you guys with a debrief at a pub or something right afterwards on a patio. In the winter, we'll go to indoors to one of the pubs. So can't wait for all the debriefs because everybody, the limo tour, it's half the people that come are just coming because they've been on all 5 of them already, and they want the T-shirt for the limo dates.
Yeah.
But it's like a reunion. You guys get to talk about all your landlording issues and problems. So like it's pretty fun. And then we're getting a lot of new people. I think the furthest person.
Oh yeah, that was super cool.
Ottawa show
Came down from Ottawa.
And we also had Waterloo?
Yeah.
Yeah, so those guys came down. That was amazing.
Well, and like Raymond again from GTA.
And Raymond
right?
came down, and we also had the one guy from Toronto, from Monica's network.
Oh right, yeah.
He came down, and so it's growing, and we're...
Yeah, and we really appreciate everyone that
Yeah.
shared it on social media, everyone that came out to the first one, everyone that came out to every single one.
And there's no like hidden thing in it. We're just come on and hang out and go look at properties with us. So.
It's honestly, again, like I said earlier in the video, community building. This is Jeff's building a community of real estate investors, and it's just honestly a great experience. And I think that there's a few relatively new to real estate people that were on the last one. In particular, I'm thinking about Matt Bell and them. And so honestly, I don't want to put words into their mouth, but I think it's a great crash course just because you get to see experienced landlords, and we only have 10, 15, 20 minutes per property. So guys are just tearing through it, looking very specifically I think if I was a first-time real estate investor, I find it fascinating that a lot of the old pros seem to run right into the basement. And right, everyone's like, oh, I love this bathroom layout or whatever. And it's well, where'd all the old pros go? Why the fuck are they all in the basement, right? But you learn out that's where you find the guts of the property, right? That's where you're going to find out a lot of the expensive repairs.
Actually, how many YouTube clips even talk about that? Not too many.
Yeah, right.
They're talking about different renos and this and this, and very interesting.
Yeah, so I think that's just another factor of the limo tour. And then also, you started touching on this, and then I think we pivoted to the limo tour, but just the value of social media in general. Just this week, or was it last week, Jeff hit
1,000 subscribers on Instagram. So.
That's awesome.
Hopefully they're somewhat targeted. So at least some kind of real estate people around the world. So if not London, Ontario people. So.
And myself on social media, I definitely have a smaller presence, but I still reap the rewards of it. Probably every other week I have someone send me an email just saying, hey Matt, I'd love to meet up, buy you beer or coffee, sit down and chat. And I love those opportunities. I love getting to meet, whether you're a seasoned vet or you're brand new to the game. It's still really rewarding to sit down with motivated individuals that want to take control of their personal finances.
Yeah, and more rewards for Instagram at Brawny Movers.
Yeah, I'll throw a link to their Instagram.
They came over to my place to put together an IKEA thing that my wife had bought, and we didn't feel like actually figuring it out. And I reached out to them. They came over, and they had followed me on Instagram, and I asked them, how much is it going to cost me? And he's like, well, I wanted to meet you. I want to get on one of your limo tours. So that was quite the Godfather moment.
Yeah, no, so bad, so Goodfellas.
And if my wife wasn't there, there's no way anyone would believe me. But shout out to Brawny Movers. Make sure if you guys are moving or your tenants are moving, drop them Brawny Movers name because they're London, Ontario based. They're all varsity athletes with UWO, and they'll move maybe it's something you can add in for a tenant package, moving in, moving out.
Great idea.
You know, just that smooth transition. So we're talking about social media. These guys are heavily involved in social media. How would I ever know about them? Are they in the Yellow Pages? No. Maybe they are, but I would never.
What are the Yellow Pages?
I think maybe they leave that on your step once a year and you put it in the recycling bin.
I keep saying no, thank you.
Yeah, so good job on them. They're obviously following us, and then it's just that little degree of somebody who actually reached out to me and to you in different times. How many others of you out there haven't yet? So it's pretty neat.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Other realtors being like, "Oh, I wish I was doing this," or you know, investors wanting. You come on out, other realtors, come on out, join the agency, and
and like I think, but yeah. So I think that last sentence that Jeff just said was really telling about him inviting other realtors to come out, because so many people approach every business deal, every real estate situation as a win-lose proposition, where either I'm going to win or they're going to lose. You know, like they don't understand that you can create these win-wins. That like that's not just. You know, a fluffy feel-good statement. Like it works, right?
I this quarter I co-listed with another brokerage.
Actually,
which is pretty rare. But guess what? We were both investment property realtors, and he was old school with a printer in his trunk, and I was DocuSign on my phone. He's like, look at this. My assistant sends me everything to my trunk, and I'm like, look at this. I'm signing on my phone. So, but it was a really cool contrast because he's obviously seen the same property sell for 20 years, and I'm newer at it, but doing different, faster approaches. So it was pretty cool. And it was Mick Dom at New Vista, so he was awesome to work with. So for any other realtors out there, like you're saying, team effort.
And because like at the end of the day, like, you know, I think myself and Jeff approach things very well. Like we think that we're at the top of our games, right? So like there's no fear there in letting others with like-minded goals or that are even like competing with you in, because it's like force me to get better, you know, because like you don't want to become stagnant. You don't want to.
Well, maybe it's even within my market or another market, but maybe if you're a real investment realtor out there, maybe you have clients and you need to be sitting down and you need to be doing market updates and all that, right? So, any other social media?
Otherwise on social media, just the social incubator. I'm gonna have links down in the description below.
Yeah, there's that, but like from your YouTube channel, I've got a lot of people reaching out to me.
Yeah, actually, finally it started. And like, I think this is patience is key, guys, and that's so huge here.
I don't know what video they're watching.
Right? Like it took. You know, I've been creating videos now for 8-9 months, and there was a long time when like it was just my friends commenting, and frequently it still is just my friends commenting. But like that trickle slowly helps, right? Like every now and then you'll get an email out of the blue that's just like, hey, like I've been watching you on YouTube, or hey, I've seen that.
And that's that little percentage that, you know, one reaches out to us. But how many of you are still out there and haven't reached out?
And how many people are just on the tipping point, right? Where they're 1 or 2 more videos or 1 or 2 months away from reaching out. It's just one of those things. You just constantly have to be planting those seeds. You may not be certain what you're going to reap, but just have faith in it. Just do the work, put in the effort, all that great stuff. And that's what this video is. It's just kind of us documenting that for the last quarter we've been putting in the work, we've been trying hard, and otherwise, rewind back to Q1, and in Q1's video at the start I predicted something that said my investing strategy would be completely different by the end of the year. I think that's already starting to happen. It's starting to evolve. Me and Jeff are starting now to really try and think a bit bigger. You know, we're spending time at City Hall and in the planning division, trying to learn as much about developments or how to build an addition onto a property, learning about zoning, learning about the London plan. In the next couple of weeks, I'm going to have a video coming out just where I'm documenting what I've learned about the London plan. It's a huge beast of a document. It's like 240 pages. It's intimidating, but at the same time, that's the city's plan till 2035. If you're not going to know what the city's zoning plan is till 2035, like, you got the number.
And then you might call Matt or might call me lucky in the next year or 2 years, but it's in Q2 right now. You heard it from us. Like, we're doing the homework right now. So, and then maybe we'll do a shout out. So also, if anyone's looking and you have big, some money partners out there, we're finding deals. So we're just looking for any people with the money that want to invest with us. So make sure to send Matt an email.
So yeah, like as part of that, with our trying to think bigger and be bigger, that sort of thing, it involves a lot of like development opportunities. So we're looking at property, you know, where, oh, you get this parcel, that parcel, and the other parcel. Now you have half an acre of land, and that land happens to be in like a D250 zoning, which means you have a density of 250 units per hectare, which is, by the way, some of the best zoning in the city of London. It's along that Dundas corridor. You guys are going to want to check it out. But yeah, so it's one of those things where you're like, okay, well, like to accumulate these parcels is going to cost me like 1.6 million. And then we're looking at maybe building like a 50, 60, 80 unit building on that parcel. So that's kind of where I think our investment strategy is evolving to. Whether we end up going big right off the start, or maybe we've been looking at a much smaller deal where it's like build 8 or 10 unit apartment building. But for any of those sort of things, we'll definitely in the future be needing money partners.
Yeah.
And
so you don't have to know all this. If you're that person, then you can just reach out to us, and we're doing all the homework. So there's opportunities out there if you want to invest. Absolutely.
And yeah, otherwise, you know, it kind of circles back to Stefan Aarnio has this thing where it's like a third is the way he does it. So it's people, money, deals, what he calls it. And so if you're the, you know, if you're the money, you get third of the deal. If you know the people, you get third of the deal. And if you got the deal, you get third of the deal, right? And so whether you do that third program or 50-50 or 60-40, there's all sorts of different splits, but a lot of guys find when they get to a certain point in time that they no longer either want to or can just solely use their money. And so I think that's often one of the next steps in real estate investing, is when you really start becoming hands-off. And so with money as far as investing goes. And so 2017, I've started to do that. You know, the sixplex we just bought, actually the 2 sixplexes I just bought, both those, not a single penny of my own money, it's just a money partner. And so the idea there is he comes in with all the money, I come in with all the expertise and the connections to get the deal done. And once the dust settles, we own the property 50-50. And usually we're able to refinance in such a manner that he gets all his money out in under a year.
Yeah, and then to go at a lower level, so some of the junior investors out there, so you got this deal because you were the expert.
Yeah.
So how many people have you heard like, oh, I'm ready to invest next year, Q3 or Q4,
yeah,
whatever.
So yeah, that's also a great thing that, you know, frequently we'll have younger people particularly reach out to us and say like, I have no money. And the thing is, like, I'll tell them, if you get the deal, the money doesn't, if you honestly have an amazing deal, bring it to me, bring it to Jeff, we'll sort out the money. You know, if it's honest to God, an amazing deal, we'll get that deal done, because the money's usually the easiest part of the equation. Now you always, you know, like, well, if the money's the easiest part of the equation, why are you guys saying you need money? It's still because you constantly want to build up your resources and what's available to you, because often when those deals come up, you need to move quickly. But yeah, so I think that there's tons of value there. And so frequently what happens is someone say like, well, I don't have any money to invest, but I'd love to invest. And I say, okay, well, go find me a deal. You know, if you go get the deal, I'll find the money somehow, and maybe we'll be a third, maybe we'll be 50-50. It'll really depend on the deal. And they'll say, like, well, I don't know how to get a deal. I looked on realtor.ca and I can't find a deal. And
well,
it's like, I can look on realtor.ca. Jeff can look a lot deeper on realtor.ca. So that's not where you're going to find the deals, particularly if you're bringing no money to the table. Where you're going to find the deals, it's going to be on Kijiji. It's going to be knocking doors. It's going to be driving around the neighborhood and just looking for dilapidated properties.
Yeah, like roofs are done, go knock on that door. Grass hasn't been cut all summer, go knock on that door, you know?
You see a bank of electrical meters.
Well, wait, I was picking up garbage at one of my rental properties today, and Matt, I said, don't worry, you don't have to go do this. Matt says, cool, because I saw for sale by owner over here.
Yeah.
And Matt went and walked over there.
And
How many of you are doing that?
Yeah, I shot a photo of it. Turns out it was 149 St. James. It's a single family home. They want like $440,000 for a 3-bed, 2-bath. No deal there. But you gotta chase those leads. And honestly, you're gonna chase dozens, if not 100 leads before it leads to a real deal. But again, that's just putting in the work. That's putting in the effort. That's making your own luck.
If you're 20 and you're at UWO or Fanshawe and you're like, oh, I really want to do this. Well, you know, when everybody's at the bar at Barney's and Jack's, well, you know, before that, put in 3 hours to try to find some deals, right? Like,
yeah, and like honestly, you can get pretty creative. Like you can blend finding deals in your lifestyle together, right? Like, okay, like you're a 20-year-old going to Western.
you know what? Maybe your landlord is shit.
That's where I was gonna go with it, right? Like maybe like whenever you call up your landlord about toilet being clogged, it's just like he sounds like he's at his wit's end, like he's about throwing the towel. That could be a motivated seller. Maybe, you know, you got a group of friends that are really hard on the property they rent. You know, that might be a great opportunity. That landlord might be at his wit's end, right? You need to just find those motivated sellers. You need to find the opportunities, and it doesn't have to be rocket science.
Can you imagine if you're in a 5-bedroom house and then you buy the house off your landlord and then all your buddies are now your tenants?
Yeah.
Think about that in your second or third year of UWO.
Yeah, that's like Scott McGilvery shit, right?
Yeah.
Like that's how he got started.
So don't tell us you have no money.
Yeah, or at least don't let that be an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, where should we go with that now?
Anything else?
So,
Did social shoutouts, did limos.
I guess maybe we'll just talk about what we think Q3 is going to look like.
Okay.
So yeah, that kind of wraps it up for Q2. Again, I'll have a link to our Q1 video if you want to go back and watch that. But otherwise, Q3. What's Q3 going to look like, Jeff?
Coming up. So we're at the end of the summer. People are still buying to get ready for school. So even investors are buying around the colleges, universities in like early August, late maybe. Then the deals are coming in September, October for all you investors out there. So that's everybody who didn't sell in the summer. So if you can hold out, wait out. We're gonna dig deep and we're gonna find those deals later on. Not to say there's not some right now, but I think we're gonna, we'll get back to good old real estate detective work.
Yeah.
Talking to the seller for 3
I definitely
years.
think in Q3 or Q4 we might be able to start negotiating again. I really used to like negotiating.
Whatever happened to that?
Right? Negotiating was one of my favorite things to do. And
some people in Q2 got a little cute with negotiating because maybe those strategies worked in early Q1 or Q4 or Q3's kind of things. You gotta really stay on top of things. You can't ask for so much in a hot market.
Yeah, you really have to pay attention to what's going on in your market. Like, it's honestly ridiculous to go in the hot market and expect to be able to buy for 20% under ask on like 2 days after list. You know, like if it sat there for 30, 60 days, that's when you go in and snipe in the hot market, but you can't expect to do that off the hop.
There was so many of our network after a brand new property to try and get it for 20% under. And I'm like, guys, like, but Matt does it. Yeah, Matt goes looks at somebody that's been sitting there for 60 days. Not day one, showing starts Saturday, no offers till Wednesday, and then you're like, can you put an offer in on Sunday for 20K under? Like,
yeah, and it's just one of those things where you really gotta know, because like we didn't do that much in Q2. There just wasn't the opportunity to negotiate. So instead, what do? We just tried to make sure we saw properties immediately when they were listed so that we knew kind of what was going on, and then otherwise really focused on private deals.
It's just adapting.
Yeah.
Like, all year you gotta adapt. Even straight up realtor had to adapt. So it's hard to get buyers deals. Like, guess what? Let me go get a bunch of listings. Everybody came to me, right? So just you as investors, they're not negotiating right now. So you're either going behind the scenes, finding those roofs that are bad, the grass, finding those deals before they put it on the MLS, or you're waiting till this fall where we're gonna go back to the negotiation stage, and we'll take 45 days to wait around for them to remove their awesome tenants and get a vacant possession. So
yeah, absolutely.
Because like vacant possession in Q2 was like impossible.
Yeah, no one wanted to be bothered with your bullshit.
I say, and then a lot of you buyers in Q2, put yourself in the seller's shoe. He's not gonna go and kick all of his tenants out. Yeah. When it's a hot market, and you guys want a clean slate. Well, you're either gonna pay for that clean slate. Yeah. Or you're not. So you can't offer less, ask for a lot of stuff in Q2. Q3, you might have a chance.
So yeah, otherwise, talking about Q3, what it's going to look like. So as we touched on, I think we're definitely going to be looking for bigger and more interesting deals. Another thing that's really caught my fancy or caught my eye recently is short-term rentals, Airbnb and stuff like that.
Anyone have knowledge
Yeah,
even nationally, like reach out to us. Because I was just talking with my buddy Sean, who's in Vancouver right now, and his girlfriend is heavily involved in it. But he was just saying, like, it's such a turnover, right? You gotta have a cleaner between 11 and 3. You gotta have that. So there's so much more hands-on than our normal day-to-day landlord stuff. But we're interested in experimenting, even me personally, in Q3, trying it out. I'm gonna have a vacancy right now, but I'm not even worried because I'm in a good situation. I'm doing renos on it right now, and I can quickly turn around and just rent it, but maybe I'll experiment for a bit, and that's fun right now.
I think it's a great opportunity, and I think it's a very interesting market currently. Particularly, what I really like about the idea of Airbnb is, to me as a consumer of Airbnb, the most desirable properties are often in a higher lifestyle area than what I'd personally be willing to buy or own traditionally. But if there's a way that I can kind of lifestyle hack my way into owning a property right in downtown London, like, I'd love to own something directly on Victoria Park. That would just be, that's liquid sex to me. I just love the idea of owning a property on Victoria Park, but I could never justify it from a rental perspective or even a personal life perspective, just because I'd like to keep my personal overhead low. But if I was doing Airbnbs for, say, bachelor or bachelorette parties, and had like a 5-6 bedroom house that, a bunch of bathrooms and stuff like that, you might only have to rent it out, at 20, 30, 40% occupancy would be more than enough to cover your costs at an Airbnb level. And then in the off season or just when at downtime, you could take advantage of maybe those amenities that you otherwise wouldn't have if you were kind of a frugal guy like myself. And so I think it's a great opportunity too, long term, that if we try and experiment like that in London, Ontario, if we're successful, it could be a great excuse to own other properties in downtown metro areas. I just love that from a lifestyle hacking perspective. So Airbnb is definitely a strategy I want to learn more about and dig more in.
Policies and politics will...
That's very scary, but like, I think it's one of those things that they're only short-term noise. This isn't going away. Yeah, it's not going away, like...
Ride sharing.
Because there's all sorts of rumors that, City of London's going to pass laws against Airbnb. But honestly, I think what's going to end up happening is the market, if there's demand for that, the market's going to adapt, like maybe it's no longer on Airbnb, it's Airbnb or what, we're going to constantly pivot, and the rule makers are just always going to be playing catch up. And so, is that ideal? No, but also that sort of static or noise is going to scare away a lot of sideline guys, right? Like, a lot of people are just sitting on the sidelines thinking like, oh, that sounds cool, but City of London's going to eat my lunch because they're going to pass this rule.
I think if you did your data that it's going to cash flow in general, and then you could Airbnb it,
that's the perfect solution.
Golden, because the moment they shut you down,
and honestly, that's exactly how I
fall back on. Okay, back to normal.
Yeah, no, I didn't really touch upon that. That's amazing advice, and I 100% agree. Make sure it works as a rental property no matter what, because you can always fall back on that. Maybe it's not the picture perfect rental property. Maybe you're not getting 1%, you're 0.75%, but you'll be able to keep it floating while you figure out.
If you are getting Airbnb, it's in an A neighborhood, appreciation type neighborhood. So you're going to be laughing on that. If you had to sell, then you sell. So and somebody's going to want that as a real home anyway. So
so I think there's just lots of opportunities there, and I just don't think, especially in London, Ontario, that's fully been taken advantage of yet. So I think
you can go on the app right now and you see like a pocket of it in the core.
And so Jeff already mentioned, but I'm going to say it a second time. If you have any experience, tell us in the comment section below, or reach out to us on social media, because we'd love to learn more from experts. Whether you're doing it in Texas, whether you're doing it in Finland, I don't care. I just want to learn from you.
LA.
Yeah. And maybe we can come out and sample it.
We'll give a shout out to Graham. Apparently Graham's coming in Q3 and potentially in August. He just bought us a rental property in somewhere west of LA, an area that he was geographically studying. So
and I guess that's something that kind of happened in Q2 more than Q1. We just kind of started getting to know Graham at the end of Q1. Amazing guy. I'll put a link to his channel as well down in the video description below. Definitely worth checking out his channel. Just seems like a really authentic guy, and it's really refreshing that the more and more we put out of ourselves, the more and more we keep meeting cool, awesome people that are just really authentic and just they understand win-wins and stuff. I just love it. It's so cool.
Absolutely. So I can't wait to see what we're talking about at the end of Q3.
Yeah, absolutely. And let us know in the comment section down below, what are you planning to do in Q3? What does your Q3 look like? Because we're definitely interested in hearing about that. And I think that probably makes as much sense as any to wrap this up.
Absolutely.
So thanks for taking the time to watch, guys. As always, I'm Matt McKeever. This is
Jeff Wybo.
And remember that making money is a team sport. There's more than enough money out there for us to all make it, but if you're not saving it, what's the point? Thanks. Bye.
Bye.